This episode, we're blasting off with Legacy United Cosmos, a re-release of the Velocitron figure that many of us, me included, missed the first time around. We'll of course do a full review of Cosmos and do a step-by-step transformation, but we'll also check out how he compares to his Minibot brothers, and even better, the other spaceships in the fleet, from Micromaster to Titan class. Stick around to play Guess That Scene and get some display ideas too. All this and more in this episode 42 of Heroic Nonsense. Second time's a charm. Let's go. Here he is, that plucky little spaceship bot Cosmos, that surprisingly ended up being quite a hot release, so much so that he ended up being impossible to find and had to have this re-release as part of the Legacy United line. I never had too much of a connection to this character or the original G1 Minibot, but I have to say my boys are loving him. I ultimately bought it for them, but I admit, it's quite a fun figure and a nice homage to the original. Let's see what this guy has to offer. For a G1 Minibot update, he's surprisingly quite big. Bigger than I expected at least. He's also actually well proportioned in bot mode, given that his alt mode is a circular flying saucer, and has some great paint applications. However, his legs are color injected as compared to most of the rest of him, including his arms, which gives that yellow leg section a bit of a cheaper look. Overall though, I think fans of the original G1 Minibot should really like this upgrade. The more I look at and fiddle around with him, the more I enjoy having this guy in our collection. There is admittedly something about him that stands out, otherwise why would so many people have such fond memories of him from those G1 days? He is definitely built solid and looks quite good from the front with no visible gaps in the legs or arms, and a nicely painted torso made up of blue, silver, and a really nice shiny Autobot symbol. The side looks fairly good too, though similar to Bumblebee, part of his alt mode ends up looking a bit out of place and not as integrated as one would hope. Really not that bad though when you're looking at him in hand. His inner arm does have a huge gap, but you really can't see it from most angles because of the shape of his bulky arms and the green inner paint they use, which darkens it out a bit. The back is actually fairly clean for this class of figure, which all comes together pretty well. He's also quite well balanced because of how part of the flying saucer forms the heels, which are not very conspicuous either. He probably has one of the more unique heads of the original G1ers, barely having any discernible facial features. Kinda reminds me of the hats that the 80s band Devo wore back in the day, for those of you who might remember them. Regardless of the look, the head is solid and captures the look of the original perfectly. As he was originally part of the Velocitron line, the original and this re-release come with the flag along with his laser. You can put them together to basically make a high-tech flag for the race. I don't recall him ever sporting something similar in any of the G1 episodes, but if he did, and one of you knows, please go ahead and share in the comments section below. The reason I think I was just never into this figure was because of his flying saucer shape. I just didn't find it very cool when I was a kid and don't particularly think it's very cool now. However, it is designed really well and again, in hand, is a fun one to play around with. It has some nice sculpted areas to give it some dynamics and is painted well with a few darker highlights. I'd love to know your opinions of him in the comments section. Who really loved this figure back in the day and now, versus who never really cared much for him at all? There is a clear front to this figure even though he is shaped like a saucer. I find it interesting that the ship's center cockpit area goes so high up since I don't recall it being this big in the cartoon or the G1 toy. I'm guessing they did it to have his chest and bot mode be a bit more proportionate. I have to say I'm pretty impressed how he all folds up together into a nicely rounded shape, with this yellow connector being the only part that isn't as smooth as the rest. Even his underneath section in his alt mode is clean, basically meaning there isn't much kibble in this mode. You can see the difference I was referring to before with the yellow sections not matching up perfectly. As for the flag, you can place it on either side of him in this configuration or simply remove it and have the laser. Or you can place it on the back, which hides it a bit better from this angle, though it does stick out like a sore thumb on the back. It's really just for play and not integral as an accessory, so it doesn't matter at all to me as we will always leave it off when displayed. In the end, a great not so little Minibot to add to your collection if you love this character or would like to have all of the Minibots. Fun for the kids to play with too. Let's take our first break with Guess That Scene. These replicas I made are all inspired by the original G1 cartoon. Surprisingly, he was in quite a few. See if you can guess which ones these are from, especially if you're a G1 cartoon expert. I have to say that Cosmos seemed to end up in a lot of trouble back in the day, but he did seem to at least go on a lot of interesting adventures. Alright, let's get right into the transformation now. So we're going to start with the feet by taking these back heels and flipping them around like so. Do the same for the other side. And then we're just going to push the feet down, and that will eventually form the front of the ship, and it just clicks together. Now we're going to push in his hands like most Transformers require. And then we'll flip up these just to get them out of the way. The head turns right in. Hint, you got to do this at this stage because otherwise it gets blocked afterwards. Once you get the arms, you just flip these sections out. They're actually hooks. And then you just pull back the back section and turn it 180 degrees. And then just push it in like so. You can flip up the back section now and straighten it all out. Because what we're going to do is we're going to unhinge this part like this, and then we're going to fold it back and then just fit it right into the back section. You just click it right in. And you see this tab here, we just fold in these two flaps, and that gives us room to close everything up. So we take the arms, like I said, they're on those hinges that form hooks, and we just kind of push it in place. Do the same for the other side. You see this tab here, it fits right on the side of that flap. And there you have it. He's transformed and ready to take off. Comparison time, starting with the two that have also been updated from the second series of G1 Minibots, which I have to say look fantastic together. Side note, Warpath and Beachcomber were my favorites, and you can see my originals appear in some of my earlier episodes. We'll build it out a bit more with the very first G1 Minibots released and now updated, and boy is it fun to display these guys together. I love the original Minibots, they were just so much fun to have and play with their unique designs and easy transformations. I'll round this one out with two more that we have, those being Core Class Wheelie and Pipes. I know there are other versions of a lot of these Minibots out there as different characters, but I think we'll end up sticking with the main or unique ones. What's nice about these updated Minibots is that they're all mostly the same size in bot mode. Though there are some exceptions, those being Bumblebee and Cliffjumper and Wheelie for the moment, since this version was a core class. Being Minibots, I'm glad they kept them small enough to scale with the other mainline G1 Autobots, because you really do want these guys to adhere to their namesake. I chose to showcase the latest Optimus Prime here, since if you're a G1 collector, this is the Optimus you want, and is likely setting the standard going forward for these G1ers. But I did also want to showcase here Earthrise for those who prefer this version of Optimus as your Autobot leader, which still holds up really well. As for the vehicle modes, scale-wise, they're obviously going to be all over the place. You basically have a spaceship, tank, and dune buggy all at the same size, but that's what you get for Minibot alt modes. Let's again add in the originals. I threw in Goldbug here with his nice shiny paint job from the buzzworthy 4-pack, since we don't yet have the latest release of Bumblebee in this mold. And finally, Pipes and Wheelie so we can complete the set we have and you can get a good idea of scale. Other than the scale being way off, they all look great next to each other as Minibots. Again, with these being the ones a bit smaller in scale to the rest, though Bumblebee and Cliffjumper make sense since they're ultimately smaller cars. As for some of the bigger car-based vehicles, thought I'd compare how these Minibots all look next to each other. While I love Beachcomber's bot mode and design of the dune buggy, I feel that he ended up being a bit too big in alt mode, almost masterpiece size. To end this section off, I put him with the rest of the Autobot Velocitron line that we currently have. This sub-series had such a wide range of characters, we ended up getting the ones we were most interested in, but as you'll see soon, we'll have the most fun pairing him with Galaxy Shuttle. And I'm not even going to get into scale here. I would generally not display these guys together like I did here in alt mode, and would ultimately separate them out as part of different displays. Fun and creative idea for a subline though. Alright, second Guess That Scene break with some more goodness, this time with one of my favorite bots to pair Cosmos with, Skylynx. Again, these coming from a show where Cosmos gets into trouble. Also had to throw some Decepticons into the mix, with this being a more popular episode from back in the day, so it should be easier to guess. I'm going to start here with some ideas based off the Velocitron line and a mix of Transformers for display purposes, a bit inspired by the race scene from Transformers 1 with a wide range of characters here, including another from the Velocitron subline. See if you can name all these racers. Had to find a good way to incorporate his flag too, at least once. Let's pair Legacy United Cosmos up with some other spacefaring bots for some display ideas, starting with 2 shuttles, Skylynx, and Galaxy Shuttle. And don't forget to have Astrotrain chasing poor Cosmos down like he did so many times in the original G1 cartoon. Now I have to say these guys together do make a fantastic looking Space Force team and of course complement each other so well with their different designs. But the real winner is pairing up Cosmos with the Titans of Space, Omega Supreme and the Ark. I gotta say I love how these all scale together and I think a display like this would ultimately look the best. You just can't beat having Cosmos flying next to the Ark in this scale. Or even Omega himself in rocket mode. I really like the way these two look together in these colors. But since we're already flying through space together, let's add back in Galaxy Shuttle to complete the look. And then put them all together in bot mode. This team would definitely give Megatron and his team of Decepticon shuttles a run for their money. What do you guys think? Would you display Cosmos with these guys? Let me know in the comments section. Let's bring it back down to Earth and have some of my favorite mini-bots in their alt modes heading out on a mission together with Cosmos, or just hanging out. Why display this team together? Well, these guys actually had a lot of screen time together in the G1 cartoon. And can't forget the Micromasters. Hard to believe there are this many recent shuttles across the various Transformers lines. I especially like them in bot mode, and you even get 2 for 1 with the Micromasters. As we typically do at this point, let's wrap this up with the box. One of the last Legacy United boxes we'll see. Love the action-packed design on the front here of Cosmos in shuttle mode. Actually looks pretty aggressive here to be honest. The side has some really nice art of Cosmos in bot mode. They really are knocking the box art out of the park these days. The back has a bit of info and both modes up against a nice blue mechanical background. And the other side has that amazing colorful piece of art for the 40th anniversary. So that wraps up this night flight to Venus with Cosmos and the team. Hope you enjoyed this out of this world special and will join me again with all new reviews and much more. I have a lot in store for you guys. See you all next time, and remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.
Transform!